Hey guys, Macca here from Melee.co and welcome to Smash Stories, the series where we trace the origin stories and try and learn from some of the best players in the Smash community. Today's interview was an absolute delight for me. I got to interview a person in the community that I really admire, someone that really inspired me through their performance in the Smash documentary, and this is Wife. The Smash documentary, in my mind, would be extremely different without his input, without the great words that he spoke. And I absolutely love his commentary. He plays White Peach, which is the same as mine. He is a great person to talk to and an all-round good guy. So I'm really excited to introduce today Chris, also known as Wife.
I would force myself to out-cancel 50 times in a row without missing it. And then it would be, Dash Dancer or whatever it was. And it was a lot of just training and getting better. And I had a notebook where I made notes and I would watch videos. It was very serious for me. And it was a very conscious, specific, directed effort at becoming better.
Okay, so I'm very excited to welcome today Chris, also known as Wife. Hey Chris, how's it going?
Hey, what's going on, man? Good to see you.
It's very good to see you too. So the first thing that I like to ask, because there's no questions that generally lead into it, is how did you choose your tag? Because I do remember in the documentary you were saying, in retrospect, I probably would have chosen a different tag, but I don't think you actually explained why you chose the tag Wife. So how did that come about?
Simply because I was playing White Peach. Because White Peach looks like she's wearing a wedding dress. That's it. There's no inside joke or backstory or double meaning. She looks like a bride.
So what made you choose Peach and what made you choose White Peach? And I'm actually a White Peach player as well.
Oh, good. You and Matt D. Okay, so I started off as a Ganondorf player. And I went to my first tournament as Ganondorf. This would be back in 2003, I think, and didn't do very well. And the night before my second tournament, or my first major, or the first time that Ken and Isaiah came to the East Coast, which would have been Game Over. It's where Chillin' beat Ken for any historians out there. And night before that event, where we also came up with the whole Newlyweds idea, an MS Paint picture, to give you some more asides. But the night before that event, we were playing, and I started playing with Peach, and I was like, she's easy. She's really, really good. And that was before I knew about out-canceling or anything, so I had no idea that she was technically easier. She just seemed like a solid character. And I was playing with her and performing well, so simple as that. And I don't know why I picked White. I don't know, just fooling around, and that's what stuck.
Yeah. I think for me, I chose Peach because I came from playing 64 and then I came across to Melee knowing nothing about it. And I used to play a bit as Fox and I came across as Fox and I just kept dying with Fox. I didn't understand the whole fast falling concept. And so I'm like, okay, who's the character that isn't going to fall and die every time I try and play? And I ended up on Peach and then I kind of stuck with it. So we see a lot of you in the documentary, but we don't hear a lot of your story in terms of how you got into Smash, how you performed and all of that sort of stuff. So let's go back to that. What got you into Smash in the first place and how did you become a part of the competitive scene?
Sure. So, I played Smash from the day the 64 came out. I can remember clear as it was yesterday buying the N64 Smash Brothers in what would have most likely been Best Buy. But I can remember being there, picking it up, taking it home, and, love at first sight. It's a fantastic game. I remember buying Melee the day it came out as well. Lined up outside whatever store it would have been. I remember sitting on the sidewalk waiting for it to open. This was before midnight releases. They didn't exist yet, I don't think. And took it home and kind of haven't stopped playing since. However many years ago that was. 15, I suppose. And we played it, all of our friends. We played the free-for-alls and the teams. And we thought Link was good and used items and all those stereotypical noob things. And then one of our friends, again, Oro, if you know your Smash, found Smash boards and said, wait a second, there's tournaments for this game. And so we found one that was close to us. Conveniently, we were, 30 minutes away from the international hub of competitive Melee, Alexandria, Virginia. So it was convenient for us to be there and be very close to Game Over and close to other good people at that time. And once I went to my first tournament and realized how hard the game was, all the unlocked potential, and how far I would have to go to even be considered good, I was hooked. And it was about the path to becoming a pro that kept me hooked. I said I want to be a top 10 player, and I didn't really think about anything else until MLG dropped us and the Smash bubble burst shortly thereafter.
Yeah, and we'll definitely get to that because I'd love to hear more about that. So, how did you go at your first tournament? How did you perform?
Right. I mean, I'm trying to think of words dramatic enough to describe it, but I mean I didn't know what a shield grab was, let alone what canceling was. So I'm certain that I didn't beat anyone and just got absolutely trounced.
And you were saying before the interview that your first tournament you played as Ganondorf. Is that right?
Yeah. Ganondorf, he's so strong, right?
Yeah, so I think it's good to see. Basically, everyone that I've interviewed so far has said they basically went 0-2 or lost to everyone in the first tournament that they went to. So I think it's good for people to see that even people who are so prominent in the community and so good at the game, once upon a time weren't so good at the game.
Yeah, it's good for you to point that out. It's absolutely true. One of the things that aggravates me the most about new players is if they say things to the effect of, I'm not good enough to go to a tournament yet, or I'm not good enough to go to EVO yet, as if they have to train to qualify to get in. We're just not that kind of scene. It's come as you are.
Which I think is good because I went to my first tournament, lost every single, didn't even win a game, let alone a set, but, just had so much fun and learned so much and then improved from there. So in terms of the big names that we know from the documentary and stuff, were you friends with any of those guys? Were they regular practice partners with you, or did you just kind of see them at tournaments?
Good question. Well, the closest I would say is, H2IL, which is an old crew that consisted of Chillin, Azen, Jay Tannic, Andin, and Mild. And they were really, really, really good. Oh, and then Trudette, of course. And so I would play with, I guess I'm thinking documentary guys. So Chillin and Chu and Azen, I would play with pretty frequently. And we would go to tournaments together. We would go on road trips. But I think the people that I was closest to are, Team Ben, which is, husband Oro and Neo, whom you don't see too much of. And then, it's funny. I think a lot of people that I was most friendly with didn't make an appearance. You see a little bit of Eddie. I remember that. A lot of the Central Ohio crew, Dreffen, who's still around, and Wadi. But I'm rambling, I think.
Yeah. Well, Dreffen, there was one of the Australians got sent over to Genesis 3 and he got beaten by Dreffen. So I know that name because of that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I noticed in the documentary a little bit.
So in those early years, you were saying, okay, so you went to your first tournament, you got hooked on the competitive scene and becoming, top 10 in the world. How did you go about that? What were your placings as you continued to get better? Did you ever achieve that goal of top 10 in the world?
Sure. So I want to tell my story, but I want to preface it by saying that things were smaller, simpler, and easier back in the day. Now you have more resources now, but everything's so much harder. So I wouldn't want anyone to see this interview and think that my path can be replicated because the world's just too big now. But as it was now, I was able to apply all of my faculties and train, and I got progressively better. And I think over about 2 years, I was international wasn't really a thing. So nationally recognized, consistently placing performer. Whether I was top 10 or not is debatable. I got 9th at what at the time was the most important tournament. So one could choose to have that as proof.
What tournament was that?
And that would have been the MLG 2006 season, which was, MLG at its heyday, the epitome of golden age Melee. And I didn't make it to finals, which was invite only for top 8, but I placed, I guess, second at the playoffs, which means 9 because it's 7 and then anyway, technically 9 for that season. So if you wanted to call that proof I was top 10, sure. I was probably just below.
Do you call it proof? Do you, in your own mind, think, yeah, I made top 10?
I do. And I'll tell you why. Because I was on the cusp when the bubble burst, and there just really wasn't the infrastructure anymore to pursue the dream that I had. People kind of stopped playing Melee for a while. And not everybody did, and that's always the caveat I like to mention. There was a pocket of people who didn't give up, and that's important. But the landscape through which, I had been seeing my goals ceased to exist. So I feel like if it was ambiguous and the bubble burst, then I feel like I accomplished what I set out to do.
Okay, and so I'd love to get back to your practice routine, but let's talk a bit about the bubble that burst. Like, what happened? How did that affect you? Because you've got these dreams of being top 10. You're saying you're on the cusp of it, and then all of a sudden the bubble bursts and Melee stops becoming, I guess, as a well-knit or growing community. Like, what exactly happened that, like, quote unquote, burst the bubble?
So I think it was a combination of things. Really two events, as I recall it, and as I see it. The first was MLG not continuing its relationship with Smash. Now, some people have said that's simply because Nintendo wouldn't play ball. But I mean, I don't blame MLG. Anyone with business sense would have dropped us. Halo would fill their caps every event and the lines around the building, and Smash consistently missed their event caps. There just weren't enough of us. So I wouldn't blame them if it just was a business decision. So that happened, and that burst, an elitist like me, I wanted the lights and the paychecks and whatnot, and we didn't have that. But there was still the grassroots, it didn't kill Smash. But then when Brawl came out, it effectively was the killing stroke for Melee.
So when did MLG drop Smash? What year was that?
So the 2006 season was the last season to feature Smash, and then I guess Vegas was, I think, November of 2006. And then they had one or two more events that they deemed they had some euphemism for, like satellite events. I can't remember. Basically, where they held one more event, MLG Long Island, and then they sponsored somehow one of the FCs and maybe one other event, but it was clear it was just a consolation prize. Yeah. So I'd say by mid 2007, MLG for Smash was a thing of the past.
And then Brawl came out in 2008. Is that right?
Yes. Correct.
So that was kind of like the nail on the coffin, was it? So like MLG dropped you.
The 1-2 punch.
MLG dropped you, but there's still kind of the grass movement going, all those like sort of tournaments. But then Brawl came out and people shifted over to that.
Yeah, we're like, let's do it. The next evolution of Smash, And the problem was we put all of our eggs in that basket because we were so excited. We all got our advanced copies and hacked our Wii's to make sure they could play Japanese games, so we could have it 2 months in advance. We could play a little harder, and we leaned into it so hard that once we realized it wasn't what we expected or what we wanted, it was too hard to come back. And we also didn't have an example to go off of to say that, hey, you can survive anything. And so it seemed like, well, we had our chance, that's it. And so the majority of people, I think, stopped playing or stopped dreaming big anyway. Maybe that's the big part of it. And so pockets existed, passionate people, but tournaments stopped getting bigger, and a lot of the important players quit.
So did you throw yourself into Brawl as well? Like, did it come out, you threw yourself into it thinking this is the new Melee? Melee is now dead. Brawl is the new thing. I'll throw myself into it. And how long was it before people realized, Brawl's just not that good of a competitive game?
I think we all realized it right away, and some of us took longer to admit it to ourselves than other. I, for example, was in denial for about maybe 2 months. I went to one Brawl tournament. I did have characters I thought about. I practiced before I finally said, this isn't good. Some people gave up on it and immediately didn't even try, and some, I think, played it for a little longer thinking, this can be like Melee. And once we realized that, it really wasn't like Melee. It didn't have the competitive depth. Again, Melee didn't die. It's just it got smaller and less serious, I want to say, because I was still going to tournaments for years after Brawl came out. I don't mean to tell the story that I just stopped playing. I never stopped. I just went to only grassroots events, and then I started going to fewer of them, and it started getting smaller, and that kind of just how things went until the documentary.
So before the bubble burst, what sort of size events were you guys getting? And then after it burst, what sort of size events were you getting?
I'll do my best to recall. I know for sure that when Team Ben hosted Getting Schooled 2, we were the second biggest tournament of all time, and we had 117 entrants. I know that for sure. That would have been about 05, I think. 2005, 117 entrants was the biggest, and the biggest tournament was like 125, and that was most. So you're talking about 200 people was unheard of. I think eventually FC hit 200. A couple of the MLG events might have hit 200, but 200 is your massive international tournament. That's your mark. I can also tell you, just for perspective, that you can find a 100-person tournament anywhere in the country now on any given weekend. Not anywhere, but on a lot of places in the country. You can find a 100-person tournament, not even news. But we would travel for 50-person tournaments. One time, Team Ben drove through the night to Michigan. We drove 13 hours through the night for a 39-person tournament. And that was just what you did. You just had to find people to play. That's what it was like. And then after Bubble Burst, I mean, gosh, I don't know. I mean, I'd certainly say probably the same size. I think maybe it just stagnated as opposed to growing. But if you look at a chart, and I love charts, so I chart them all the time, but the size of tournaments, it was just going slowly upwards, and then it dipped big time as far as biggest tournament of the year. So it goes slow, and then down for a year or two.
Was it down when Brawl hit, or was it down when MLG dropped you?
Brawl. It would have been after Brawl.
Yeah.
It would have been at least a year after Brawl, I think. And then starting with, I guess, the Evo 2013? No. Yes. Starting with Evo 2013, I think. I'm not the best historian, to be honest. But anyway, right about then they go up and attendance rates are just through the roof. And though there are lots of factors, I think none can truly compare to the impact the documentary has had. It's hard to measure that. It's hard to understand what life before that was like, and how shocking this post-documentary world is.
Well, yeah, I'm me. I'm a doco baby, what they call a doco baby, because I got into it because of the documentary. It was a little over a year ago, I decided to get a 64 for my birthday with some birthday money to relive my days of playing Smash 64 against my friend in high school. Got it, was then on YouTube looking at, some competitive matches of 64, and then saw the documentary. And we had just had a baby, and so my wife was in hospital. He had to stay in hospital for a while. So I've got these nights to myself with my other kids at home, and I'm like, a 4-hour documentary on a video game? Like, that sounds like a perfect way to spend the time that my wife would never be into. So, like, I watched it, and I'm like, oh man, why did I buy a 64? And I immediately went out and got a GameCube and got Melee and started playing that.
That's great.
Because I always thought back in the day, 64 was the better version. GameCube was a stupid console because no one really bought GameCubes in Australia. But man, was I so wrong. So let's talk a bit about...
Well, it's funny.
I was just going to say, let's talk about the documentary and doing that documentary, because watching it, it kind of felt like a post-mortem documentary. Like, Smash was this era. This is what happened. It's now dead. Let's document this. What was it like doing that documentary, talking about it? Was it, in effect, a post-mortem?
I don't know what Sam Ox saw it as. I don't know if he intended to reignite a flame or not, but it's what it felt like for me. I felt like I was just chatting about the old days. I mean, I had no idea. And I didn't even have a sense of Sam Ox's skill or competence, let alone his ambition and right place, right timeness of it all. So I was just talking into a camera, I was just able to talk about myself and about Smash for a couple of hours. There was no sense of gravity to the interview. I was really just chatting.
Yeah. So
that's the crazy part.
You didn't feel like this is going to be a documentary that ignites the world of Smash and is a huge boost to the scene.
No, I mean, a lot of these things, people ask for an interview and then it never sees the light of day. That's not uncommon. So no.
So what was it like? So was it just one, did you just sit down for one interview for a couple of hours and just talk about the old days, and then they just cut that up across the episodes?
That's right. That's all it was. He sent me some topics ahead of time to prepare, but I just finished writing my book. So everything was already floating around up in my head anyway. So a lot of it, I just sort of, word vomited right into the camera.
Okay, so you have a book. I did not know this.
I do have a book. Yeah. It's about both chronicling the golden age of Smash and how, my path to trying to be a pro player, but it's also about a lot of the personal journey that I had. So I want to make sure I sell it fairly. It's very much a personal autobiography as well as a golden age storytelling device.
Okay, what is this book called? I'm going to Google it right now and try and find it.
You should. It's called Team Ben: A Year as a professional gamer. And you can look at it for free, download it for free for your Kindle or just in a PDF or whatever. Or you can buy it for like $4. It's the cheapest they would let me assign a price to it. So I mean, I'm certainly would never want to make money off of it.
Okay, so is this it's coming up as a Tumblr site? Is this where people can find it? Or
Yeah, the Tumblr, absolutely. teambenthebook.tumblr.com.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. And there's links here where you can order it. Is it on Amazon?
No, not on Amazon.
Dude,
no.
Why is it not on Amazon?
I think it's not on Amazon because it would cost me money, and I would make money. And the idea was for it to be as free and as basic as possible. So no, for example, it's going to cost like $25 or like $50 to get it shipped to you. So I would just download it just for your Kindle if you have one, or just the PDF, and you can just read it for free.
Yeah,
that's what I would do.
I'm telling you now though, if you want help, I can help you get it on Kindle, because I would rather buy it and immediately have it downloaded to my Kindle than have to download it and try and work out how to transfer across to Kindle, because I actually don't know how to do that. So just putting it out there.
The site. Not that I wouldn't accept your help, but the site where you can buy it for free, you can download it right to your Kindle. There's a Kindle option.
I know, but then I need to work out how to transfer it to my Kindle. I need to plug my Kindle into my computer. That just sounds too difficult. I've got money, and I want to support you for writing this book.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, hit me up, because Amazon just felt like a big hurdle, and I just wanted to find a site that could publish it for free, so did it as easily as possible. But let me know.
Yeah, it's actually pretty easy to publish on Kindle. I've done a couple of books in other niches. So anyway, we can talk about that after the interview.
Cool. Yeah. We'll chat later.
Okay, so let's just keep tracking through time. So you did the interview. Like, when was that recorded? What year was that?
I'm bad with years, dude, but I can tell you it was a while before it came out. If you're just looking at least for a point of reference, I'd pretty much forgotten about it by the time it came out.
Yeah, because I remember watching it, and then it finished with like Smash being re-added to Evo. But it really did feel like that kind of Evo story was kind of just happened as they were editing it, and they're like, shivers, we better put this in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what's it been like seeing the resurgence of Smash? So the documentary came out. I don't even know when it came out, because I've only been in the scene for about a year. Smash was added back into Evo in 2013, and then we've seen, kind of exponential and amazing growth since then. What is it like to see a game that was such a big part of your life? You had those ambitions to be top 10, the bubble burst on you, and effectively your dreams are like taken away from you, and then to see the scene grow again?
Well, it's absolutely incredible. It's surreal, and it's the gift that keeps on giving. That's the incredible part. So you have to imagine that I worked really, really, really hard in those golden era years. I did everything. That a person could possibly do related to Smash. If I found any kind of outlet, I would pursue it. So not only was I playing, but I was trying to be the face of it. I was searching for sponsors for my team. I was hosting tournaments. I was doing commentary. I was on the rankings panel. I mean, I infiltrated every last little nook and cranny, because it meant so much to me. And the reward was little externally. I mean, it was rewarding to me internally, but the money you could win was pennies, even for top players, let alone for a tier below. And I wasn't respected and didn't have any clout. And so what I'm seeing in my life now is I'm seeing dividends paid to me from all that hard work that I did, 6, 7, 8, 9 years ago. It's wild. I mean, I'm being interviewed right now by someone in Australia. I went to Australia. You know that, right?
No.
I was in Australia.
Oh, yeah. You went to BAM, didn't you?
For BAM. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is that? I went to Australia on Smashers donated to get me there. That's incredible. I'm recognized. I got 22,000 Twitter followers. How? What? Why? And the thing is, I haven't done a whole lot in the past couple of years. But that documentary and everything that I did back then, I feel like I'm revisiting all that, and in a sense, I feel like it's been given to me for free, although I suppose I worked for it just a long time ago. So it's been a pleasure, and I feel unendingly fortunate to have been given all these new opportunities.
And I think anyone who's in the community who is trying to take an active role to grow their local community, whether they be TOing or streaming or, hosting events, doing a lot of these like thankless tasks, well, I think understand what you're saying and understand where you're coming from, where it's a lot of effort. You don't get a lot of reward in terms of like financial reward or even thanks from the community, but like you do it for the passion that you have within yourself for the game. And so
yeah,
it is so great to see that like it's coming back to you after all those years, even though like you thought it never would.
Yeah, absolutely. And it used to be the kind of thing that I'd have to hide because you couldn't really defend it to someone without, sharing the passion. You can't do that easily. But now, not every TO gets this privilege, but many TOs, they're running these, massive international events, and they're, seeing some financial dividends, or at least travel, getting to go to exciting places and, pursuing these. A lot of Smashers have, they're full-time in the Smash now. Got a long way to go, but yeah, it's at least in small ways lucrative, and that means a lot to me. Not only for me, but being able to see other people able to throw themselves farther into the game. Not so much because I'm happy for them, though in many cases I am, but because it means the game benefits. You have all these people, making tutorial videos and playing it 10 hours a day. The game is moving fast. The meta moves so fast these days. And to me, that to this day, it is still the thing that I enjoy most about Smash is the Smash. People are great. The competition is great. But at the end of the day, it's about a truly beautiful, nearly perfect game. And that, I think, is what's kept everybody together.
And so what does the future hold for you in terms of Smash now? Do you plan to play competitively again? You're involved in Super Smash Con, so maybe we can talk about that a bit. You're commentating top 8 at one of those recent events. What does the future hold for you in terms of this community, and what part are you going to play?
I am hoping to disappear. I'm hoping to take this face and hide it away.
I think that would be a terrible sin if you do that for the community.
No, but I had my time, you understand? I had my time in the spotlight, and I'm not actually going to go anywhere. I just want to be less visible. So I want to let other people, have these opportunities and do the commentary and get in front of cameras. There's plenty of other passionate people out there. What I want to put my time doing is being an ambassador and being an organizational leader in the community. So for SmashCon, of course, more than anything, I want to see it realized as the one and only completely unique authority on Smash Brothers. Smash Brothers everything. So because it's the convention and the tournament, it's your one-stop stop for Smash.
Okay, so for people who don't know what Super Smash Con is,
a lot of work. Yeah.
Do you want to explain what Super Smash Con is to people who don't know?
Sure. So Smash Con that's what it sounds like it would be, right? It's a convention dedicated to Smash, all the time. We do 4 days. We rent out the Dulles Expo Center, which is 130,000 square feet of Smash, and we just fill it wall to wall. All 4 games, singles and doubles for each tournament, and then all kinds of other celebrations of Smash, and also Nintendo history. We do music and panels. There's a full-service marketplace, cosplay. All the things you can think of at a tournament, and we're just getting started. And so if you want the most hype tournament, I want to be that. If you just want to come and have fun, I want to be that. If you want to bring your kids, or if you're, a golden age era person, my goal is for it to be the penultimate Smash experience. That's going to take a lot of sweat and blood and tears. And I love sweating, bleeding and crying. That kind of stuff is exciting to me. And so while I appreciate the cushiness of my situation now, I would like to pass that baton off, let others, bask in that and be the face. And I would turn to organizing, and then also to just meeting people and spreading the gospel of Smash, as it were.
So in terms of commentary, right, you are regarded as power ranked in terms of commentators in Smash. Definitely in the top 5, if not, top 3. Whenever I, look at it, everyone's like Prog, D1, Wife, Scar and Toph, and then you got Homemade Waffles and Phil as well. They're like top people's favorite commentators, and Wobbles has started getting in there as well. But you're always up there in terms of one of the favorite commentators of people in this community. Do you plan on continuing to commentate? You're saying that you may, be fading into the background, which makes me a little depressed.
Well, look, thank you. Thank you for your vote of confidence. I'm glad you like my commentary. Not everyone does. I'll readily admit I'm not as educated on all of the technical detail of Smash. That's why I play Peach. I'd never thought it would be my strong suit. So no, I plan on absolutely, dialing back the commentary and perhaps stopping entirely.
Damn.
I'm doing DreamHack this weekend. I'm so excited about DreamHack because it's a major esports institution that's involving us. So I'm there. If I was at a BAM, for example, I would commentate that. I mean, I'm not saying I would never do it again, but it's far from my focus.
Okay.
And it should belong to people whose it is their passion, it is their focus.
Yeah, and it does seem like, you're dialing back from that. It seems like Prog's dialing back from that as well and kind of letting other people take the reins. Is that what's happening?
Yeah, I mean, Prog's got his own things going on. I don't know that his was as conscientious as mine. I think that's more path of life, whereas for me, I'm going to try to make some more conscientious decisions away from it. But there's lots of up-and-coming, caster talent that doesn't get a spot. They don't get a chance because, it's either going to be, one of the favorites. It's like it's at any given tournament, you've got Scar Toph, Wobbles Phil, Wife, Prog, D1. I guess that's a lot of people, but still, there's that upper tier that's sort of, locked down. And I want to say more people rise through. You've got some up and coming casters that are undoubtedly better than me. And I just want to see them get the experience and really be the voice of Smash going forward.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from. Totally. I disagree with you because I love your commentary so much. And like when you're talking about huge events and tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people watching, I would love to have you there. But hey, we all have our own journey and own path to take. So do you have like a job as well? You're married, aren't you? Do you have kids? So do you have a job on the side and Smash? I mean, not a job on the side, a full-time job.
Yeah.
And so Smash is still a side thing for you?
Yeah, I've got a regular 9 to 5, regular person job for sure. And then I have this, I call it but I make time for it. I mean, honestly, 40 or even 50 hours a week, if you're hustling is nothing. You can add a super hobby onto that. So I do. I have a regular job that's my breadwinner, and then that way there's no pressure on Smash to make money. I get to simply achieve the goals that I want to, and not have them be tied to financial responsibility, because that would definitely be a stressor.
Yeah. And what does your missus think about your passion for this game and Smash in general?
I think she liked it a lot more when she got to go to Melbourne and Sydney. No, she took a little while to warm up to it. It's hard to understand, like what is this? Why are people talking about you on YouTube? And why is every third comment asking if you're gay? There's a little bit of that adjustment, but at this point, because she got to see Smash get big again through our relationship, and now that we're married, it's just it's taking it as fact. But she's very supportive. We will even watch the biggest events together. I don't think she's excited about, whether Westfall's hit that multi-chine or not, but who didn't love the drama? Like, who doesn't like to get on Leffen's Twitter and just, see, what he's breaking down about, and the Mango Armada rivalry. I mean, anyone can get into that. So she gets a little excited about it occasionally. One more caveat, God bless her, she's wonderfully supportive, and I appreciate that. For those masters, I play a long-term relationship when I was hustling as a player, and it was real tough. A lot of stress on the relationship, and may have been one of the driving factors that eventually killed it. So I'm intent on not letting Smash affect my relationship with my now wife, but especially as she was learning about it, I said, we have to be the most important thing, and Smash has to not be the bad guy. And I went about it the right way this time, and Smash is the good guy. It's just a fun thing that Chris likes, and every once in a while we get to go to fun places.
Okay, and so this is probably a good topic to touch on, because there'll be a lot of people in the community in a relationship, but who are also very passionate about this game, where their partner, let's face it, probably doesn't really understand where the passion comes from. So what do you feel like you did wrong in the past, and what do you feel like you did right this time that makes it work well?
Well, the number one mistake I made in the past was that every event felt like the most important. it was like, I just gotta go to this. If I don't. And then these days I am able to take a much more, wide lens angle towards things and think, is this event really that important? What are my goals and do I need this event to achieve it? Because if I can miss it and go to another one, then I can. And you've got to realize that, your personal life is, if this girl or guy is long term anyway, they're the most important thing, because without their support, you're not going to play well anyway. You go to a tournament and you know that you hurt someone's feelings by going, or about going to a practice session instead of paying attention to someone on the phone. It's going to hurt you in the long run. So I guess my point is that they feed each other. Either they're both good or they're both bad. I don't believe you can just put one above the other.
Yeah, well, and if you do, then one's going to win out. Like if you put Smash above your relationship with, your partner, then, they're going to get pissed off and eventually they may leave. So it's definitely a fine balancing act that you need to consider them. You need to consider their feelings. You need to make sure you're spending time with them and not just playing Smash, basically.
Yeah, but also, if you're being reasonable about it, that's hard to tell. But if you are being reasonable about it and they're not supportive of you, maybe that tells you something. You're the guy or girl who's good for the long haul are going to be excited about the things you're excited about. Just remember that too. There's two sides of that coin.
Definitely. Okay, so let's go back in time a little bit again, where you were talking about that period of time. You said it was a couple of years where you started practicing and getting good at the game. One of the things that seems to be really hard for newer players to understand, really hard for pro players to explain as well, is how do you get good at this game? What sort of practice regimes did you use? So I was just wondering if we can touch on, what did you do to get good? How did you practice, etc.?
Interesting. Let's see how to explain this. Ryan, are you an actor by any chance? You ever done any theater?
No.
No? Okay. Well, if there's any theater people in the audience, this is the most apt analogy. One of the first things you learn as an actor, that you can't do character. You can't, develop your character until you've memorized your lines. So that's why that's the first thing you do. And in Smash, you can't get good, and you can't take the first step to being Mango until you have your tech skill down. And so while I tell people that you have to go to tournaments before you're good, and to get good, you can't wait to get good, you do need to lock yourself in a room and learn the basic tech skill before you can start outwitting your opponent. Unless you play Peach, Puff, or Sheik. You can get a little faster in that case because there's less tech to learn. Still some, but less. But if you're, again, a Fox or a Falco and you want to be like Westballs or Mango, you need to spend the hours learning the tech. Now, back in the day, those are pretty short list. But even still, what I would do is I would sit in front of my TV and say, okay, 100 L cancels in a row. If you miss one, start over. 100 wave dashes in a row. If you miss one, start over. And everybody needs to do that. You've got to be able to hit your cancels consistently. And until then, you shouldn't be looking at like the tutorial videos or trying to mimic combos, because you have to be fluent in your character. You know what I mean? You have to learn the language first.
Yeah.
And playing by yourself is important. Again, in my day, level 1 did it. You put a level 1 computer, put it on 99 stock, and put on your iTunes on your, we used to have iPads, not iPads, what are they
iPods.
called? iPods, right. You scroll them in the circle, you plug in your dumb earphones, and play 99 stock with one character, and then 99 stock against another. These days, you have the hack pack. You must download the hack pack. What an incredible, amazing advancement in technology. Do you know what I would have given back in the day for someone who tapped differently every time, or I could practice chain grabs on? This is manna from heaven. It is a gift from God. Don't ignore that. Put your hack pack in, learn how to play the tech, and then from there, you've got a multitude of tutorial videos. You've got Smash Academy, you've got SSBM tutorials, and about 50 more people you can follow and learn all about Smash. So soak it up like a sponge. That's step 1. Step 2, go to as many tournaments as you can. Go to your locals, even if you're worse than everyone, even if you're better than everyone. You've got to plug in and you've got to get there. You have to know what it feels like to be in winners finals, even if you're way better than everyone else. Let's say you're decent, but there's a college nearby full of a bunch of nubs. go there and you get that, you learn about tournament fatigue and set fatigue. Playing 2 sets back to back, someone resets the tournament on you, you have to learn how to do that. And I'm getting on a pedestal now because I feel very strongly about this kind of thing. I know it might have been a longer answer than you asked, but you just got to dive in so you're comfortable before you can start advancing and leveling up.
Yeah, and this is, I guess this rings true with basically everyone that I've talked to, is they do say you need to get your movement down, you need to get your tech skill down, you need to become faster and more accurate with your character before you can really do anything else. And I think like before other options open up to you, before you can do the combos, etc., you need to know how to move, you need to know how to wave dash and all of this sort of stuff. So what do you think? So you said, obviously, lock yourself in a room, practice tech skill, but then you also said go to tournaments, which they like kind of, I guess they're different ways of practicing. So do you believe like combining the two is the most effective in terms of, because you're going to learn different things at each event?
Mm-hmm. Well, you never stop practicing tech skill. I just think you need to have some before you go to your first event. You need to have a baseline of comfort before you go to your first event, and then never stop practicing tech. And then events, you need to trust your gut. Sometimes you need to take a break. Like if you're a weightlifter, you have off weeks where your muscles rest so you can come back. That's important too. But never stop playing tech.
And what do you think, like as you become a better player, one of the things that I think plays a massive role in this game is the mindset that you take towards the game, towards the sets you play, towards the tournaments and your results. What do you think is important in terms of mindset for people to think about as they practice, as they improve, and as they compete?
There's so much a person could say and so many thoughts. And I'll start by saying there's not one answer, and I wouldn't assert any set of advice above the rest. But I don't want to boycott your interview either and your question, so I'll offer this. This is what I have found most helpful for me. Is when you're playing a tournament set, remember that the game is no different. Stock 3 is no different than Stock 1. Playing the Samus next to you is no different than playing the Samus who's your best friend. And the person across from you is just human and is just nervous as well. So just play frames, play the ones and zeros. Don't think of it in terms of a tournament. It's no different.
So you're basically saying try to disassociate yourself from the tournament and the results and the stress that comes with, I need to win, I want to place in X spot.
Yeah, you'll play better. A lot of players do that with music. You condition yourself. You listen to the same music in tournament that you listen to in practice, and it calms you down a little bit. And if you're a fan of inner game of tennis, as I am, that would be quieting self 1 and just letting self 2 take over.
Yeah, I just recently read that. It was recommended to me. And so I just recently read The Inner Game of Tennis, which people should definitely check out if they haven't. So the whole concept in that book is that, your conscious brain that wants to hit certain tech options or that, wants to consciously think about the game and control your movements, you need to kind of quiet that and just let your almost subconscious, like your hands take over. Is that
Sure.
Is that like what you've gathered from the book or something else?
Yeah. Look, self 2 knows how to out-cancel. You don't have to remind it. If you just shut up, self 2 will do it all. It knows. You don't got to tell it. You don't have to tell yourself anything. That's the fallacy. That's what I took away from it.
But then the thing that because I only just read this book and I'm thinking, okay, this makes sense if I was already a good player. Like if I already could constantly L cancel or do my float cancel fairs to grabs or whatever. How do you balance like the need to quiet self 1 with the need to actually be super conscious about the game, understand what you're doing, what situations there are, etc. Because I find they like kind of contradicts themselves if you're trying to get better, because you need to understand so many different scenarios, what your options are, what your opponent's options are in each scenario. And I feel like if I shut my brain off, then I'll miss that.
You won't. That's what I took away from the book, is that they don't know different things. They know the same thing. You just think you need to tell yourself to do it, but it's already there. And I know it's weird, but I don't think there was any scenario in which you need to enlist self 1. It just, according to the book, that is, it just gets in the way. Self 2 will take care of it. All you need to think about is the game.
So you think self 2 will like naturally learn because self 2 and self 1 are just you. They're the one person. So you don't actually need self 1.
Yeah. It's true. And then at least for anything tech related, and that's mostly what the inner game of tennis is about. They don't talk about, and you've read it, I'm telling your viewers, they don't talk about what your opponent is thinking. They talk about hitting the ball in the right place. So as far as movement, tech skill, you don't stop canceling there. And make sure you fast fall at the top of your jump. Self 2 knows that. Self 1 should be thinking, okay, is my opponent nervous? Is he probably going to roll a little bit more? Self 1 can be thinking, I wonder if I go up on the windmill, if he's going to chase me up there, and I can use that to get under him.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying, right? Because
That's what I think.
I read the thing and I'm like, okay, quiet self 1 completely. But then you're saying that it's really in terms of like tech skill and, micromanaging the situations. But what is really good is to quiet self 1 in terms of L cancelling and stuff like that, so that part of your brain is freed up to think about the opponent and to think about the mind games that go into a match.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I like that. That's good. The book now makes more sense to me.
And
So I want to talk about your thoughts on Peach. So I'm a Peach player as well. I picked up Peach and I picked up White Peach. I don't know if it was subconsciously because you played White Peach or if I then saw that afterwards and just like it reinforced my decision to do that. I didn't even know MacD played White Peach until recently. But what are your thoughts on Peach as a character in the tier list in terms of viability? Like you hear Amada these days talk about how Peach actually isn't that good, even though he's the best Peach in the world. Like, what are your thoughts on the character and viability of the character?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any radical thoughts either way. I certainly think she's better than Armada thinks she is. I think that perhaps if you're the best in the world, you need a pocket fox because you're dealing with best in the world scenarios. But for the rest of us mortals, I think Peach is enough. I think MacD's doing with just Peach. I'm surprised more people aren't. I think she's great. I think she has a low barrier of entry for tech skill. So you can learn her tech faster so you can get right into the mind games part more, which is fun. And I pride myself on having gotten where I got because of my intense aggression and a set of tricks that I found worked on people. I didn't play her the way Armada plays her. Mine was more about I had plays that I ran, whereas he's almost entirely reaction, and optimal situation based. So I think there's several different ways you can play her, which is fun. She's efficient. She's got a 90-10 matchup versus climbers, and she's good versus all the low tiers. Her real issue is Marth, but nobody knows how to play Marth Peach, so you're in luck.
Yeah. So you are known as the Marth Slayer, right? So Marth is one of Peach's hardest matchups. How did you or how do you approach that matchup that made you so good at it?
So I think it was mostly an unprecedented level of comfort in the matchup. I think that Mars weren't used to playing a Peach who knew it inside and out. I just had that edge. And the trick to doing it is spacing. You need to be either very, very close or very far away. If you're right in the middle, then Marth has the grab game and that, awful sword to deal with. But when you're far away, you pull turnips. And when you're close, you don't leave. Very close, even if it means a roll or something, you just stay right close to him. And that's it. You want to dash attack, what I call his shins. So like if he jumps, especially his short hop, you can dash attack in right to his legs there. And a lot of turnip, I'd pull a turnip. You always want a turnip in your hand. It's never a bad time for a turnip. And that's it. But I think if Marth is playing properly, 80-20. 80-20. Marth should be beating every Marth should be beating every Peach except for in the most extreme situations. But you don't see it. I've seen it maybe once in the past several years, and it was last week at Summit when MTK 3-0 Armada. That shouldn't be the exception. That should be the rule. It's insane to me that it isn't happening. It's insane just how bad Marths are versus Peach. It's like nobody's bothering to look at the matchup or use the brain because it's right there in front of them.
So do you think that is the Marth players' fault because they're just not respecting Peach enough or respecting her too much and just not, I guess, learning the matchup and paying attention to it? Because maybe it is too easy for them.
Yeah. Even if they're only okay at the matchup, it's still 60-40. You're still probably in the advantage, but it also doesn't come up that often. I mean, if you're a Marth, and this is understandable. If you're a Marth, what are you going to do? You're going to practice your Fox and Falco matchups over and over and over again. And you can't be blamed for doing that because they're everywhere. And there's some really sexy stuff you can do. But how many Mars are playing? It helps you have a best friend who plays Peach, but how many Mars are just playing 7-hour fests with nothing but Marth Peach, with nothing but you going up tilt, wait, up there, wait, up tilt. And you got to do that for hours. Most people can't do it in friendlies, let alone do it in tournament. Yeah, they lose the patience. But Fox and Falco, oh, well, that's where you can do all the fun stuff. Nobody's practicing it. Nobody's thinking about it. And I think it should be embarrassing for all Marth players except for Muji King's Marth that one time. That's it.
That was an insane match. It was crazy to see Muji King 3-0 Armada as Marth. And like I was texting my friend who's also a Peach, and he said exactly what you said. He's like, this should be happening more often. Like the fact that it like Armada beats Marth, you know, is more an exception. Like it should be an exception to the rule, even though it's not. Like Marth should always be winning against Peach.
Silly stuff. But besides Marth, she's doing pretty well against the other matchups. So
yeah,
she's good. People should play her. People should play her more. And
what do you think about the Peach Puff matchup?
I don't know. Back in my day, I felt 50-50. You just had to throw a lot of... There's only a couple moves you could use. You could use Turnip, F Smash, or I thought there was one more, but you couldn't use many. You know, you had to put the hit frames in front of you because their spacing's so good. These days, it's probably harder. I mean, if Armada, you know, doesn't like it, there's a reason.
Well, it's obviously hard against Hungrybox being like the best puff in the world. That's got to be hard.
Yeah,
probably.
Yeah, but it's tough. It's tough. And it requires either way.
Something that I wanted, this is more like a personal question. I just played a tournament and Peach versus Mario, and I got absolutely whooped because I never played against Mario before, and all of my stuff didn't work. Like back airs just seemed like he seemed to push through them and stuff like that. Is there any approach to Peach Marth that like I should be taking?
To Peach Marth?
Not Peach Marth, Peach Mario, I mean.
Peach Mario. I don't know. I was like you. I didn't practice the low tier matchups because you see him so rarely. But you just have to do this. Remember, Kevin and I used to say, get the memo. Get the memo that you're better than this guy, or get the memo that your character is a higher tier. What you need to do with Mario is just out tier him. You're right that the normal stuff doesn't work. Very, very accurate. But if you just sit there and float, and I think forward air is good, maybe grab him a little bit because he's going to shield a lot. I don't know exactly, but I will tell you that you need to remember that you're way above him on the tier list. There's a reason for that, and there's a reason you counter him. You have to just take it slow till you figure it out.
Okay, yeah, and I'll do some Googling. Okay, so what did I had a couple of other questions, and then we'll close it off. There was an interview I was watching. I can't remember what it was. It was on YouTube, and someone was asking you about like 20XX and what you thought about that, and you were talking about how back in the day everyone thought Sheik was unbeatable. You know, but times change and, you know, characters have gone through in terms of being considered the best. What do you think about the 20XX movement and everyone thinking that Fox is the best and, you know, more and more people play Fox in the future?
Yeah. Don't forget Puff too. We also had a time where we thought the game was absolutely over. We thought, that's it. Close the door on Melee. Puff's the best character. Turns out this game was broken the whole time. We just didn't realize it until Hungrybox and Mango. Like you weren't playing and watching, but there were Hungrybox and Mango finals. People just they're over it. And what's really funny is you have that now, but with different characters. But they would do Puff Ditto finals, and everyone was like, "Wow, game's over." I want to say it was Pound 4. People freaked out about it. And before that, it was like, "Yeah, if you play Sheik, you're cheap." And now Sheik gets no respect. It's coming up a little bit again now, but yeah, it's all cyclical, man. It absolutely is all cyclical, and I'm seeing no evidence that Fox is the best character in the game. He's the most played, but look at the placings. You don't see that reflected in the placings. When I start seeing mostly Foxes in top 8s, maybe I'll start considering it. When I see Fox being easy, I'll start considering it. And just like when I see, by the way, when I see Ice Climbers start winning tournaments or ever winning a tournament, maybe then I'll consider that Ice Climbers should have the wobble banned. But until then, don't complain to me because Ice Climbers don't win tournaments and Foxes aren't littering the top 8s. I see no evidence of it.
Okay. So basically you see viability for a lot of characters and you don't agree with like the 20XX in terms of everyone will be playing Fox, and it's just what port you choose will determine who wins.
No way. It's fun, and I love it. And I love there's a lot of Fox because it pushes things forward. And the presence, the oversaturation of Foxes is going to invite an answer of Marths and Peaches and Samuses. And we're already seeing it. Last night, that top 8 finals of
EGLX.
I'm drawing a blank. What was last night? EGLX, right. How many floaties are in that top 8? A bunch. And that was without Armada. So let's look at the results, man. Scoreboard.
The results speak for themselves. When we start seeing top 8s and it's all Fox, then we'll have to start thinking about it.
Samuses are pooping all over Foxes. Frequently I see that. She's so good. So good. And Sheik, man, forget about it. She can crush a Fox too if the Fox isn't careful. We're seeing more and more Sheiks doing well.
Yeah.
No, the game is still balanced.
The game is still moving along. Characters are all viable and things are continually changing, which is exciting.
Yeah.
So I think we'll close it off there. I just wanted to give you an opportunity. Are there any shout outs that you want to make, or are there any things that you think we should have talked about that we didn't?
The interview has been a pleasure. I want to say thank you. And it's always good to talk to an Australian. The Australian community, the Melbourne community was fantastic when I was out there. So it's a pleasure to hear that Australian accent again. And I don't have any shout outs, which is fun. I'm not sponsored or anything. So I like to close my interviews by simply asking people that they be kind to one another. Kindness is the most important thing that we can do.
And I think that is great. And if anyone does want to find you, where is the best place? Is it on Twitter or where is it?
Yeah, I do very little of social media or anything, but I do Twitter. So I'm Warren Peach on Twitter with underscores, but if you just Google wife Twitter, you'll find me. You can find me there, and you can read the book. If you're curious, it's free. Yeah, that's it. Oh, and SuperSmashCon.com, of course, especially if you're in the States, but yeah, that's it.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you, wife, so much for your time, and I wish you the best as you fade into the background and become assimilated with the scene, and when people forget who wife is.
That's right. Only the old guys will know. Do you know who you just talked to? He was important way back when.
Yeah.
That's going to happen.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Well, I hope that you enjoyed that interview with Wife. I certainly did. I really enjoyed sitting down with him, talking about Melee, talking about Peach, talking about all of these different things. I had an absolutely great time, and I hope that you enjoyed hearing more of his story as well. We see him so much in the documentary talking about other people, talking about Ken, talking about Chu, talking about Azen, etc. It's really great to hear him talk about himself, talk about his story, and the great things that he's going to do for the Melee community moving forward. I am absolutely depressed that he is moving away from commentary because he is my favorite commentator. So I hope that he reverses that decision and decides that he will continue to do commentary and realize the massive part that he plays when he does do it, because he is enjoyed by so many people. But he's got a lot of plans in the background with Super Smash Con and a whole bunch of other things going on as well. So we'll have to see what happens. You can check out this episode, the video, the podcast, the transcription by going to Melee.co/18. That's where everything will be over there. And I am going to link up to his book. If we get it on Amazon, this link will go there. Otherwise, it'll go to the page where you can just download this for free. So go to Melee.co/wife, and that will redirect you to his book about being a pro gamer. So I have downloaded that book on PDF, and I'm going to go through and read that, and I hope that you guys go and check it out as well. So again, that is Melee.co/wife, and that will redirect you to that book. So thanks again, Chris, for coming on. I wish you the best in everything you do in Smash moving forward, and hopefully in the future and a couple of years down the track, we can get him back on the show and hear about what he's been doing, because apparently he's fading into the background and will be disappearing like a ghost, which I'm very disappointed about. I still can't get over it. You've made me very upset, Chris. Anyway, that is it from me. I am just rambling now. Until next time, keep calm and play Melee.
You want me to wrap up Smash, like as a whole?
Yeah.
The whole thing?
The whole thing.
You want me to wrap up all of Smash? It means so much to me. And I really do think it was important. I really do think it was important, but you're asking me why? Well, it was a chance for us to be somebody. It was a chance for all of us to be somebody. And that was a big deal.